And good morning, this is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor, and every single morning, you and I sit down with our cup of coffee and we talk about business. We talk about issues. We talk about politics that affects business and personal finance. So we're here again, and it's a TGIF Friday, and it's going to be probably semi-cloudy, semi-rainy, semi-sunshiny here in South Carolina. I love South Carolina. It's nice to live here. I think it was a good move for me from California, and so I'm here now, and I like it. 2 years. This is my second year here. And November, we'll start the third year, and that will be a celebration. Well, so I wanted to talk about just a few things this morning before I get to my message. But I was looking, well, you know what? I have talked to you so much about the car industry and what's been going on with defaults and repos and the lending industry as a whole. So the U.S. car loans that are out there currently total $1.5 trillion. And consumers are struggling. Between the COVID-19 pandemic, where everybody went out and got all that free money and they started spending on expensive cars, supply chain issues, alleged predatory lending practices, inflation, and the Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes, getting an auto loan today has gotten really stressful because it's very difficult to get now. Credit is drying up very quickly. Difficult and very expensive are these car loans. I tell you, it's a very stressful situation when you need a car but you can't afford a car. Like right now, I need a car but I can't afford the car because I'm not going to spend 50, 60, 70,000. I saw a truck, a Ford 150 there for $115,000. Are you kidding me? No, I'm not going to do it. And neither should you. You should not be spending that kind of money on vehicles at this time. So that's my first nag this morning is auto loans and how high they are. 1.5 trillion, that's a lot of bucks to be sitting out there. And how much of those are going into default? That's the biggest question. How is it going to hit the banking industry? Maybe that's the next big black swan that we're looking at. Now, the other thing I wanted to moan and groan about this morning, since it's TGIF, I can do this because we're going into the weekend. Biden administration is spending $1.2 billion. What do you think they're spending it on? Vacuums. They're vacuums to cut global or to slow down on global warming. Warming. W-A-R-M-I-N-G. Warming. So there's an article which I've listed down below. It says, can vacuum slow global warming? Administration bets $1.2 billion on it. Really? Vacuums. They're going to do vacuums. Why don't they just hire all of us Americans? Listen, pay me $1,000 a month. I'll hold my vacuum up in the air and let it run for 20 or 30 minutes. How about that? Come on, guys. We're spending wasteful money on vacuums. So they're going to try 2 of them in 2 different states and see what it does. I can tell you what it's going to do. It's not going to do anything. That's the problem. It's not going to do anything. Now, the other issue. Oh, by the way, the Supreme Court blocked the student loan deal that Joe Biden was trying to do again. So it's blocked again, and we'll see what happens. So this is going to go to the Supreme Court again, and let's see what the Supreme Court says to the Biden administration for that. So anyway, the federal court blocks the $20 billion in student loan forgiveness. So that's a goner. Now remember what I've always said about What is the most expensive thing on a income statement of any business? It's wages, it's salaries. So for the first time, UPS drivers will earn, these are full-time employees now, will earn $170,000 a year on average. That just came out from the CEO on a call. $170,000. How long do you think that UPS will be in business with that high of cost? Now, part-time workers get, I think it's $25 per hour, plus full health care. That's part-time workers. But the full-time workers, on average, they will be $170,000. Do you know how much that boosts the expense line on that income statement? Tremendously. What will be the bottom line? The only way that they can make it up is raise the rates on UPS customers. That's the only way they can do it. Again, the union went in and got that deal, and now it's going to cost UPS a lot. I'm telling you, let's start the clock right now to see exactly how long UPS will remain in business. Let's just see. $170,000 a year. You know that's more than some nurses are making. That's more than what some doctors are making. That's more than what some attorneys are making who have employment, not employment, but school debt that they have to pay for. And these guys have no degrees. These UPS guys have no degrees. They're just driving a truck and delivering goods. Now, listen, I'm not saying that UPS workers are not good people, because I know a lot of them. I have them as clients, and they are excellent workers. But honest to God, $170,000 for delivering stuff in a brown truck? Let's just start the clock right now. Today is 8/11/2023 at 9:18 a.m. Eastern Time. Let's start the clock and see how long that company stays in business. That's all that we can do, is just watch and see what happens. Now, my message for the day is something that I learned a long time ago. I've told this story so many times that when I started my firm in 1984, I was taking on projects that no one else wanted to take on. These were things that people just didn't have the time for. They needed it to be done, but they just had no expertise to come in and do it. And so I would be called in and do some of this stuff, doing consolidated financial statements, setting up accounting systems, just all types of different things. In fact, one of my mottos that we always had on our website and on all of our logo and stuff, it always said, we let you focus on what you're good at, and we take on what you are weak at. And it could be compliance issues, it could be taxation, it could be accounting, it could be HR issues, especially for the smaller companies that didn't have that expertise or could not hire anybody to do that. We did it for them. But there are some certain circumstances, and I will be the first one to admit this. I cannot sell. I am the worst seller. I once went out and tried to sell Electrolux vacuums when I was in college. This was a long time ago. I was a failure at it. My friend, who was good at marketing, good at sales, he went out and he was really good at it. Sales is not my expertise. I can tell you how to remain in compliance. I can tell you how to run your company. I can talk about management, human resources, taxation, building a business, starting a business. I can talk to you all about that and tell you the story. But when it comes to selling you on a product, I just don't have that. I don't have that talent. My business partner that I had a long time ago, he was so excellent at it. He could talk anybody into anything. I'm not that person, because I'm always thinking, how am I going to protect this individual? That's what I'm always thinking about. And that is my strength. I'll give you a good story. There was this guy, customer. He went into a store one day, and he asked the owner, said, "Hey, do you have any salt?" And the owner says, "Do I have salt?" he said, look over at this shelf, those shelves over there. I've got all kinds. I've got pink salt. I've got blue salt. I've got sweet salt. I've got all kinds of kosher salt. I've got salt. In fact, let me take you downstairs. And they went downstairs, and there were boxes upon boxes and boxes of salt, all kinds of different salt. And the customer says, can you sell this salt? He says, nah, I can't sell. But the guy that sold me the salt, he knows how to sell salt. I'm that person. I don't know how to sell salt. I don't know how to do it. I'm not good at it. So there are times where you have to bring in people that to cover your weakness. And that is the most important aspect that you have to admit to, that you don't have that strength. You've got to call someone in to do that for you, to close the deal, to develop a marketing plan, the sales plan. I was never that individual that could talk about sales. I know it. I know what needs to be done. But don't ever tell me to go and talk to one of your clients and say, hey, this is what you need to do. Although one time I must admit, maybe I'm not too bad at this. I had a client. They wanted to buy a coffee plantation over in Hawaii. And they had this investor who was going to invest like $700,000. And they said, hey, can you come with us and talk to this investor? And I said, yeah, sure, I'll go down with you. And I sat there, and they were trying to explain what they were going to do with this money and everything and what the game plan was. They could not tell their game plan. They could not tell their story. I had to step in. And I had to explain to them where the margins were going to come from, what their production lines were going to be. I had to tell that story. When it comes to telling a story, I can do that. But to sell him, to get to the bottom line, I can't. I'm just not that individual. It comes to find out that after I sat down with these guys and they didn't know what they were going to do, they didn't know what the plan was going to be. They could not explain it to anybody. I said, well, you have an issue here. If you don't know your story, you're not going to get the funding. They never got the funding. It wasn't my job to get them the funding. But they could not get the funding because they could not close the deal. They could not sell the salt. So if you don't know how to sell the salt, get somebody in that knows how to sell it. Because that's the only way you're going to get rid of all that merchandise that's sitting there not making you any money. I can't sell salt, and I'll be the first one to tell you I can't sell salt. If you want to sit down and talk about compliance issues, if you want to sit down and talk about management issues and human resource issues, taxation, I know that because since 1984, that's what I've been doing, and that is my strength. But I also know I have to bring people in to sell my product. I can't sell salt. But I know other people that know how to sell the salt. Listen, this is a TGIF Friday. I hope every one of you are going to go out and have a great weekend. Listen, if you want to sit down with me on business issues in strict confidence, go to my website and schedule a time with me at www.lodge.co.com. The link is below. And if you have a business question, send it in to me at thebusinessadvisor@gmail.com. So, if you can't sell the salt, get somebody that can sell the salt. That's all you got to do. Cover your weakness. Know your strengths. Focus on your strengths. Hire people that can focus on your weaknesses. This is Mike Lodge. I'll talk with you soon. Love you guys. Bye-bye.